The first season of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is the best Game of Thrones adaptation since the early seasons of Game of Thrones. Not only does it capture the story perfectly, but the way it expands, it makes those scenes feel impactful and more important. Welcome to the Lore Fireplace. Let's start the fire. I just finished reading A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, and wow, we're in for a treat if they continue with what they're doing. The next two stories are amazing. Maybe I'll make another video covering that in the future. But I want to go over the first season and just kind of give my overall thoughts on what this season brought and what it entailed and why after reading the book, I am so excited for the future seasons. First of all, the story in the show was almost exactly the same as the story that we read from George R. R. Martin. And as we find with these shows, whenever they start straying a little bit away from the content that was originally written, they start to kind of go off the rails. They start to cut corners. They don't seem to be as good as they used to be. It's like that drawing of the horse, specifically with Game of Thrones, but even House of the Dragon, where the first 3-4 seasons are like this masterpiece of a horse. Then we get to season 5, 6, 7, and it just kind of turns into a little cartoon drawn by kids who were looking to move on to the next one. But not the case. At least right now, we got that horse's head beautifully done for A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Like I said, the story, super faithful adaptation. We can see everything that Dunk is thinking or that Dunk thinks of in the story, and that makes it very, very, very intriguing. Overall, Dunk is who he is. Like they encapsulate that. What is he really? Is he not really a knight? Vibe that he's always doubting himself. His own self-doubt is picked up in the show incredibly. And Egg, what can I tell you about Egg? Egg, my guy. The Egg version and the Egg that we see on screen are basically the same character. He pushes Dunk. He is the wise crackling kid that thinks he knows better than everyone and is always ahead of it, and oh my God, they got him exactly the way it should be. It captures every little beat with him, and I think it is one of the best conclusions or bringing together of two characters that I've seen. Like as I was reading, and this book that I have actually has some pictures on it, I was like, that's not Dunk. Dunk is the Dunk from the show, and Egg is the Egg from the show, which they were both pretty similar, to be fair. Things that were added that I think actually built onto this this whole experience that we got on our televisions was the dancing episode where Dunk and the Laughing Storm Baratheon come together and really build like this bond of friendship and this like testing of each other with the dancing and the stepping of each other and the floating and kiting and moving away. Really shows a side of Dunk that you can't pick up that much on the show unless they have that kind of interaction. And in the book, you kind of pick it up because he's thinking about all these things. He's getting all these doubts, but then he's like, no, I am a knight. I am that strong. I am the person that I'm supposed to be. And I'm very, very proud of that. And so he continues to go forward and attack. And maybe proud's not the right word. I'm very aware of that, and I will do the best that I can to be a true knight, which we see time and time again as we continue going through the book. The other thing that I thought was a great expansion was Dunk's history that was shown in the book, where he goes into that like flashback as he's being knocked over the head during the trial of the Seven, and they go and he looks at how he was like a little street rat running around and in Flea Bottom and with the girl. And in the book they talk about a couple of other of his friends where they go in and what they would do in King's Landing and in Flea Bottom, and they would run around and scare the girls and all these kind of things. I feel like the emotional beats that they hit on the show were just a lot cleaner, or were just very smooth and clean. And that addition of those story beats were amazing to really open up who Dunk was. Again, these two things that were added, that were seen by, that we see on the show and were adapted into the book, were my favorite highlights of the show and of the book. The something that wasn't in the book, but I think was great. Those two things are looking forward and looking ahead at the next couple of seasons. At least we're going to get 2 more seasons. We're going to get season 2, which should be the story of the Black Widow and the Chekwi Lion, which is an amazing story. If you guys haven't gotten a chance to read this book, please do, or read all these 3 novellas if you want to get them in a separate books. Read it. That story is amazing. It's the next story in the Dunk and Egg saga. It's great. And then the final story, the Blackfire that goes through parts of like the second Blackfire rebellion and those kind of things. That is also another amazing story that this book really shines at bringing out, and I can't wait to see it adapted. One of the biggest characters in like the story of Game of Thrones comes out at the end here. I won't mention who it is. If you know, he's only got one eye. Maybe that'll help. And I can't wait to see that character on my screen. We haven't really seen it on our screen, so when we see it on our screen, I would expect it to be at towards the end of this show. I'm going to be so excited. Now, if they cut him or whatever, we'll see as these things continue to progress, right? But I'm excited for those 2 chapters, and maybe I'll talk about those in a future video. But in general, I think that first season was amazing. Even now, after reading the book, I'm even more excited for the second and third seasons, and we'll see where things go from there. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Welcome to the Lore Fireplace. Keep the fire burning. Please leave a like, subscribe if you haven't done so already. And if you want to read this book, there's a link down below for an affiliate link if you guys want to try check that out. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys. Goodbye.